online. Doesn't matter if it's on a blog or a podcast or a video channel or maybe even on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You need to focus on having a great about or bio section. It's really important you nail this down because a lot of people go to that to understand whether or not they should continue to follow and consume your content. So we're gonna work in this video through 5 different factors to make sure that you include on your about page exactly what it needs to get people to follow and subscribe to you. And if you haven't done this yet, you know, it's about time. It's about page time. It's just stick around, you're gonna learn some stuff. All right, number 1, the first thing you need to have is an amazing hook. What is a hook? A hook is a way to really capture a person's attention right then and there so that they'll be intrigued to keep reading down that page. If you don't have that great hook, you have all this amazing stuff after that. If you don't have the hook, they can leave and never come back. All right, so there's lots of ways to hook an audience. First way, questions. Ask questions where the answer will be a yes. Meaning like, are you somebody who blank? Do you typically feel blank when you blank? So really understanding the pains and problems of your audience in a way that when they answer these questions in their head, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's me. Yep, I do that. Okay, this might be a page that'll actually help me. So asking questions, great thing to do to start off your about page. Next, and this isn't really for social media because you don't have a lot of room usually, but if you are on your website and you wanna have a great hook, you can tell a story. So tell a great story right from the start, something that really resonates with that person. Again, making it relatable based on the pains and problems that they have. You want to show that you understand exactly what this person is going through because, like Jay Abraham says, if you can define the problem better than your target customer, they're going to automatically assume that you have the solution. And you can do that by asking questions and having them say yes, or you can do it by telling a story where their story and your story have a match and intersection. Now, don't ramble or go too long with a story. You want to get to the point really quick where a person can understand, oh, that's just like me. So don't ramble on and go too long, but telling a story is great because we as humans are just fine-tuned to really pay attention when a person's telling us a story. All right, number 3, you can create what's called an open loop. So this is really handy because people don't like when things aren't finished or complete. Now that's not to say you're never gonna finish or complete this open loop. I'll give you an example in just a second. But it is to say, okay, a person's gonna be interested and intrigued, their curiosity meter is gonna go up, and they're gonna be like, all right, I need to find out what's going on here. You can say things like, well, hey, I've discovered an amazing way to do X, Y, and Z. Before I give you all the information about how to do that, make sure you keep reading because I want to tell you a little bit more about what you can get here. Now, there's a lot of other ways to create hooks and also ways to combine these kinds of things together to really reel a person in and have them continue to read on and subscribe and follow what you do. But as long as you have a hook, then that's a great start. So let's keep going with the next part of your about page or bio. All right, so the next section that you want to make sure you include, let me erase this really quick, is you need to make sure you understand and the person who's there understands the benefits. Benefits, not the features, not here's what you're gonna get, but more so the why, because this is what really people want. The benefit is what a person will get if they stick around. And the best piece of advice I can give you is focus on the transformation. I love this word transformation. I use it whenever I create any sort of content, blog posts, podcast episodes, videos. I want to understand, okay, where's a person at? But then how can I help them? The transformation is that thing on the other end of what it is you're offering, the outcome, if you will. Now, in terms of the transformation, it's just really important to note for the person who's on that page or reading that bio, well, what are they gonna get as a result of sticking around? And then by starting with the benefit, then you can add the features on after that. Hey, I'm gonna show you how to make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And this is how I'm gonna do it. So we're kind of flipping the switch. A lot of people typically add the features first and then go into the benefits. But I love to just share the benefits first because then a person understands, well, okay, I'm gonna get this outcome. I don't really care how I get it. Well, obviously you do, but then you go into the how after that. So you it's kind of the Simon Sinek, right? Like start with why and then kind of pull out from there into the what and where. And finally, another really important factor related to the benefits and the features is making sure that you share for this person what makes you and the way that you teach these things different. There's a lot of people that likely want to provide and do provide the same outcome and transformation to people. How are you going to do it differently? That's really important to note as well. All right, next up, and this is really important, you want to make sure that you show people some sort of proof. In sales, in trying to get anybody to subscribe, proof is a really important factor in having a person understand that, yeah, okay, I can trust this person. Proof used in this fashion, because likely a person hasn't really gotten into your stuff yet at this point, proof is kind of just part of the first impression that a person might have on your stuff. If they come across your stuff and they see that you've been featured on certain publications, if you have these accolades, if you have, awards as a result of what you've done, then they're going to be more likely to dig deeper. Now, those forms of proof are important and they are helpful to share with others, but you can take this a step further by showing proof, if you have any, of how you've already helped other people too. So on your About page and even in your bio, you could perhaps pinpoint certain people or groups or companies that you've worked with that you've helped. Now, there's lots of different ways to show proof. You can show proof in the form of videos. Videos are probably the most powerful form of testimonials, or if you have any other people share kind of how you've helped them, that's great. If you're a speaker, perhaps it's great to have other conferences talk about how well you did on stage, that sort of thing. Videos are great. Written testimonials are good as well. But I think to take that one step further, I would also include images. Anything to break up the text on that page, again, if it's on your website, makes a big difference, and people can see you, people can see how you do what you do or what you've done for others, and that's really important. All right, next up we have, and this is one thing that I have really understood that works really well for me because I know I have a good one, and that is a personal story. Now, you might have told a story already, like we talked about earlier, but this is where you get a little bit deeper about how you got to this point. Why are you the person who's writing this website? What is your mission? And I know, for example, I have a great personal story that really resonates with people getting laid off, starting a business, being successful after getting laid off and falling through a state of depression. It really resonates with people, and a lot of people connect with that. But more than just the story and the outcome that comes along with it that's relatable, more so, it just has a person on the other end realize that you are a real person too. And the thing is, people want to do business with other people, not websites, not profiles, not even companies, but people want to do business with other people. When you can share your personal story, something that's completely unique to you, it's going to help you stand out from everybody else out there who's just making noise along with you. If I were to offer one side tip, one piece of advice, is to really nail this down. Practice it, share it on stage, write it a number of times, really hone in on how you can best tell your personal story, because that's going to be an amazing tool for you to build a relationship much quicker. All right, next let's talk about something really important that's tactical. It's going to help you actually grow your business from your About page or your bio. And that is an opt-in form. Or it could be a link if it's on like social media. When a person's reading about you and they've gotten to the end of this thing and they're like, yes, I like this person's speaking to me, I want more, this is the perfect opportunity to include an opt-in box on your website, on your About page. And a lot of people don't do this. I actually picked up this tip from Derek Halpern from Social Triggers, who actually just emailed me one day and he said, Pat, you should have an opt-in box on your About page. I guarantee you it'll increase your subscribership. So I didn't have one, I put one on. I did have an email opt-in in the sidebar of my website at the time, but not directly at the bottom, a clear CTA, call to action, to get more email subscribers. And by just simply adding it in there, I increased my email subscription rate by 477% on that page alone. So it does work, and there's lots of different ways to do it. You can offer a lead magnet or some incentive to go along with it, which I would recommend. People don't want more emails, so don't just say like, subscribe to get more emails or subscribe for my newsletter. That typically won't go over as well as if you had something that relates to them and their problems and pains and struggles that you can offer to them for exchange for that email address. Now, out of all these things, probably the best thing I can do to sum up what makes a successful About page is to make sure that you don't make it actually about you the entire time. Yes, your personal story will be in there and all those kinds of things. Your testimonials and all those things are in there, right? But it's mainly about the person reading the page and how you can best serve them. So I want to put the ball in your court. I want to ask you, how are you doing in each of these 5 realms on your About page, on your website, or perhaps the bios that you have here on YouTube or any other places that you have information about you online? If you cover these 5 things in there, especially the call to action at the end, it's going to help you grow your business help more people and build a stronger relationship with those people who can then dive deeper into the content that you have to offer and help them with. So if you're up to the task, number one, hook me up with a thumbs up. But number two, also leave in the comment section below which one of these things was missing or maybe underutilized with what you have going on. Maybe it's all five, maybe you haven't even started in
Hello. What's up, everyone?
Are you already online? I think I'm frozen. Am I around?
You are around, but you're frozen, Nina. You okay?
Okay, let me get back in. So you gotta hold the fort. Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, I'm gonna hold the fort for now. Nina is not here. Something happened with the connection. How are you guys doing? Okay, let's just see who's online right now. Hi, Sam. How are you doing, Sam? It's good to see you again. Who else are we having? Seeing all. Good to see you again, CA. Right. Okay, I'm gonna put Nina back. She's back.
Guys, sorry about that. How you guys doing? Sorry about that. Okay, that's it. That's the last time I'm gonna try this video style. I'm going back to the normal style.
So what do you do? At the back. Sorry, let me just get rid of it. So what happened?
I'm testing out this new video function and it's lagging. Hi, everybody. Just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you so much for being patient of watching a podcast instead of a live stream video. So thank you kind of thing. But you know what? Welcome to Just Langa. You know, we always F up, but it's fine. Okay, kind of thing. So everybody, welcome to the Just Langa show. We are on our 42nd episode. So welcome Popcorn fam, welcome LinkedIn family, and welcome Facebook and YouTube family. So who's here today in the house? Let us know in the comment section. We already hear from Munchie, who's sup Menta. CA is here. The rest, are you guys being like all polite? Let us know who's in, who's here, who's tuning in, and what do you guys want to get from this particular episode, right? So today's episode is really exciting. I mean, I say that about every episode, but today I'm like, oh, Kyrol's here as well. He's watching from.
Yo, what's up, Kyrol?
See, this is what happens because I love that Frozen song. So yeah, so I get it. Okay, kind of thing. So anyway, so today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things. Who's saying, hey, gang? Oh, it's Reka. Nice to see you. Reka, if you guys are tuning in and this is your first time tuning in, please give permission to, can we put that comment section? I mean, please give permission to StreamYard. All you need to do is go to
StreamYard.com/Facebook.
Yeah, give permission to StreamYard so we can see your name and we can kind of put your name there if we want to share your comment and stuff like that. So today's episode is really exciting. We're going to be talking about creating the evergreen content for every stage of your funnel. But we're also going to cover copywriting the About Me page. So I was sharing my social media this, and can you believe it? That a lot of people responded saying, oh my God, I need this. You know, my LinkedIn profile sucks. You know, it's boring and stuff like that. Hi, Stanley, welcome.
You know, the interesting part about what you said just now is that a lot
what is it?
We think that it's simple, but it's actually not as easy as we think. Just to write an About Me page, it's like, oh.
Yeah, I actually.
But it's important.
It's absolutely right. But you know what? I think it's not just the About Me page. I think it's everything. And I think copywriting is so important, right? And the thing is, I was not expecting it. I thought it was pretty basic, but it's the basic stuff which is difficult, right? Kind of thing. So how many of you guys feel that way? Let us know in the comment section. What's your biggest stumbling block or challenge when it comes to writing your About Me or, writing in the funnel process and stuff like that? What is your biggest challenge? What's your biggest stumbling block? And what do you guys want to get out of today so that I can skew the questions towards what you guys need, okay? Because, talking to our speaker backstage, there's so many things that he does. It's amazing, all right? Now, what's your take on this? Do you think you write well or do you think you suck?
I think I so-so lah.
You think you so-so? Okay, cool. Do you have a trick up your sleeve?
Mine is templated. I have a structure. So for me, there's always a structure. So when I have a structure, then it's easier for me to do things. But I think it's more than just a structure. There's also the whole storytelling thing and all that. But I always love to see other people's way on doing it.
We've got Azrael here who says he wants
I
to
want
say
to say
sex.
sexy things so recruiters
So
see.
recruiters, okay, got it. That sounds good.
Sounds
We've
like a
got
good
a
one.
treat for you. Pankaj, you're watching from India. Love you, babes. Okay, so I personally have a trick up my sleeve as well. I don't think I'm a good copywriter because, as a debater, my script was written for me. So I used to be totally
I
dependent.
think you're a better copywriter than I am. That's how I
But
feel.
I'm still traumatized because I used to host shows. I used to, and things were written for me. So that was my problem. So I never thought I could do it myself. But here's the thing. You know what my gift is? I actually think that, okay, you probably don't believe this because I talk a lot. I think I'm somewhat a good listener. I'm a good pattern detector. And I have a good sense of what commercial needs kind of thing. Wait, hang on. What connects with the mass as in commercial. So like my English, I don't know whether I'm using the right grammar. If you ask me what all these words are, I have no idea what the right thing is, but I know what the right grammar sounds like. So I can pick it up from the sound. Okay. So
Right.
I don't know what skill that is. Like even with music, I know which music is going to go number one, the charts or top 10 kind of thing. So I used to predict. So if only I bet I would have been rich, So knowing that to me is powerful because I then use formulas and I play around with it. And then when you put everything together and it connects, it hits, then I just run with it. So that's my superpower, I guess we call it. So, and because of that, it makes me a good editor. So, kind of thing. So if I were to start something from scratch, I'm slow, but if something's there, I can kind of it and boom, it becomes good. So that's my skill. But what about you guys? What are your skills? Because, what are your superpowers? Because I only discovered that much later because, the whole time somebody else was writing for me. So I was like kind of handicapped, kind of thing. So what are you really good at? And do not underestimate any skills that you have. Like for me, I thought my best skills was copying and pasting. I used to underestimate it, but now I'm a really good copy and paster. But when I say copy and paster, I edit it and make it me, kind of thing. So I start from copying and pasting. Which is why I have so many tabs open because I'm like,
in a way, you need to see a reference. That's your style.
That's my style. If I start from zero, it's like a bit traffic jam, which is where formulas come in handy because the formulas, the structure are there, and then you just put it in kind of thing. Okay. So that's my strength. But what about you guys? What is your strength? And don't underestimate it. We all got to start from copying and pasting. I mean, but Dean's probably going to come in and me and say, no, we'll see what he says. Okay. So now before we introduce you to our speaker very quickly, let's see what is happening next week or next month in our POPCONfest for this whole month. Yeah. Now, if this is your first time tuning into POPCON, we're in the business of building Southeast Asia's business influencers. So if this is something that you want to position yourself in, then join us either in our class or follow us on our social media. So let's check out what's happening in the month of February for POPCON. We've just launched our brand new Facebook group where we're teaching people exactly what's working for us and our students on how to build your authority and a profitable business on LinkedIn. So POPCON Chatbot is going to be sharing the links there. And just to share with you, we do a weekly live training there for free every Monday. And we already have 3 videos there. The first one is the vision for the group. Hey, Tila, welcome. And the second one is we actually shared our 9P formula. That's everything that we give our students on how to position yourself as an influencer. And our students all use this. And they've named business influencer. They also closed 1 million sales using this formula. And we also interviewed Vivian, one of our students, to kind of check in with her how her results has been and what she's been doing to get it and how she basically got it. She's got international clients, which we thought was not possible as a financial planner. So definitely you want to go check it out. It's the LinkedIn Authority Facebook group and it's free. Okay. Now, next week, how many of you guys are interested in TikTok, but you don't know what the heck it is and how big it is, or you don't think it's important for your business? So, you're going to be so happy because we've got you a leg.
Yeah, I know. I saw this. Yes.
Yeah, cute, right? Okay, so we're getting better and better. I mean, I'm getting prettier looking girls kind of thing, but we don't get a lot of girls. But so yeah,
Yeah,
so we're
there's
getting.
always guys, right? I want to complain now.
I'm sorry, the guys are the ones who step out, kind of thing. So, but you girls are happy, right? So now I need to keep the boys quiet. So let me know if you have any hot speakers, right? They're not responding to me. Maybe you need to, right? I mean, so anyway, we're getting Xiao Saunders who'll be talking about TikTok and why you need to be on TikTok, even if it's not for you. Oh, stress. I mean, so many social media. Okay, so that's what's happening. I have new speakers. I don't have the title yet, but I can tell you his voice is awesome. I'm sorry, we're going back to he. I mean, okay. But tonight, it is time to sort this out once and for all. Who wants to have an awesome personal write-up? Because if you're going to get an awesome write-up, kind of thing. It's like Oprah. You get an awesome write-up. You get an awesome write-up. Everybody gets an awesome write-up. So if you guys are ready for that, then let's just langa with it. I mean, intro video.
Right.
Popcorn.
Hey guys, welcome back, Popcorn family. I'm Nina.
And I'm Amin, and welcome to our 47th show.
Second.
42nd show, season 2, episode 4. That's what it is.
Episode 5. I accidentally did not correct it, but anyway, this
Oh
is
yeah,
where we
episode
come.
5. Wow.
Yes, this is where we cover the latest on content creation, social media, entrepreneurship, and tech to help you guys position yourselves as business influencers, business leaders, and industry authorities through content creation. Now, in other words, we're building Southeast Asia's business influencers by building your authority, impact, and income on social media. So if this is something that excites you, join us and follow us on all our social media because we cover
Come and join us. Come and join us.
Yeah, come and join our cult. Okay, now tonight, if you are one of those people who have major issues with their personal write-up on LinkedIn or anywhere, and you think you sound stiff, formal, or fake, then boy, do we have a treat for you. We being the awesome, natural people that we awesome.
First. Right. This session is dedicated specifically for Nina, who has not updated her profile for the last 1.5 years.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is for me. That's why I invite all these speakers, right? So anyway, we've got you the man who's going to show you exactly how to take yours from sounding meh to epic and legendary status. So who wants that? Let us know in the comment section. Who wants to start epic and legendary? Okay.
But I think we're going to cover quite a lot more, right? It's not just the profile itself.
Yeah, it's not just that. We're going to be talking about webinar because this man has a lot of gifts. So we need to, get it out of him. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but in the olden days, people would go to, all these BOMOs. They will go to BOMOs to please help me get more sales into my company. But nowadays, we have to go to all these ghostwriters, kind of thing. And as please write all these nice things about me so that I can enroll people into.
I have a statement for this. I have one statement for this, okay?
Okay, what?
Okay, copywriters will be the next future BOMO. Make sales.
Okay, Dean, we're listening backstage. BOMOs are like witch doctors. Yeah, so we're not far off from New Orleans, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but there you go, kind of thing. All right, so who do we have in the house?
We have a lot. We have
a lot. We have one speaker, for God's sake.
No, I thought you were talking about our audience.
Oh, audience. Yeah, audience we know. But let us know who's in the house. We know. So anyway, our guest tonight, let me introduce you. He has been a ghostwriter, not quite a BOMO, behind many B2B and B2C webinars, creating automated and live sales content for global companies and solopreneurs. We're talking 300 companies have enrolled employees in his online course about audience attention and creating powerful B2B sales webinars. Wow. Okay, when he isn't rescuing webinars from CMOs, he's running 8 sprints per year with clients around the world, helping them create the best ever marketing videos, sales presentations, and webinars. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. We have so many questions for you, Dean.
I have.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Dean. So I just have to do that, in fact.
Hey, I gotta point out something because I just heard in the last couple of minutes, right? It might be true that Nina hasn't updated her about section for a year and a half before,
Yep.
but she avoids a mistake that you made.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, do tell. What is it?
I did.
And so here's the thing about the about section on your LinkedIn page. Okay, every other part of your LinkedIn page is you talking about you, right? Your work experience. Here's my name. Here's my picture. Here's where I went to school. Here's where I work now. Here's where I worked before. Here's where I live, right? That's all about you. And your headline is you shouting about you. But the about section is the only part that's not about you. It's about your reader. And the mistake you make is your very first sentence, you start with I have a vision to do X. And Nina starts off with a question that the reader might be asking themselves about a problem that they're having. Her first line is way too long. It's not a perfect first line, but at least she starts off by trying to get inside the conversation the reader's already having in their head. And then, but you start off with just talking about you. And the reason so many people leave their about section, people hate writing their about section, right? And the reason so many people leave it blank, and a lot of people have nothing in their about section, because they don't know how to start. And so it's tough because all of a sudden you're doing this. Okay, 95% of everything here is I got it. I know where I went to school. I know where I live. I hope you know where you live. I know where I live. But then you get to the about section and says, oh crap, I don't want to write this. Like, this is weird. And sometimes deep in your like monkey brain, you realize like, okay, something's wrong with this part. Like something's different, and I don't recognize what it is. And it's probably more dangerous for me to write something than to just leave it blank. And so a lot of people leave it blank. But so what I do is, and it doesn't take very long, I just sort of walk people through 8 questions. And at the end of the 8 questions, it's pretty simple to do a write-up for yourself or for someone else. And I watched the video, by the way. That was Pat Flynn, right? You had running before.
Yes, Pat Flynn. That was lagging.
Right. No,
so sorry.
Maybe, but I mean, his message was good. Here's the difference between Pat Flynn and all of the sort of formulas that you get, and like what a copywriter would do. And that doesn't mean only copywriters can do it, but copywriters will come at it from another angle. In copywriting, what you say is inform with the text, but persuade with the subtext. So you persuade with the stuff that you don't say, right? Not that you're leaving anything out, but you want to give an impression of something without actually having to come out and say it. Because if you come out and say it, then it sort of cheapens it and people don't believe you, right? You can convey that you're honest. Whereas if you wrote, I'm honest, people are going to say, that dude's not honest. Nobody who's honest would write that. So you could come at it. So what I do is I just give people like for free, I just give them the 8 questions and I say, answer these questions and you'll have everything. Don't even write full sentences, just write in the bullet points. And then at the end of it, look at everything you've got and you'll be able to pull out the parts that you want to make into a really cool looking and impressive about section.
This is why I interviewed your guest on Just Langga. It's because of this thing that you do, this medicine man thing. We call it here magic voodoo thing that you do, these 8 questions. I heard that it's so good that by the end of the webinar, you actually have an about you section. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
About me.
I ran a test in December with a bunch of people, and I did not realize, I'll be honest, I did not realize. I've been writing LinkedIn about profiles for people for years and years. I've written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. But I just, mostly for people who were looking for work, and I was doing it as a favor for them.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't charge anything.
You know what I like about your style, because I actually see I was going through the 2 profiles that you gave to me before we start the show.
Yesterday.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, it's short, simple, and sweet, but it speaks to the audience.
Right.
Yeah, because I love it, and I'm like looking at it and saying, you know what, I need to do something about mine.
Without shouting, right? So
without shouting it out, it's very subtle. The inception is amazing. That's how I see it.
Okay. Hang on. Popcorn chatbot or AI is saying that Dean is a bit soft. Our chatbot can't hear you, so we can increase the volume. I mean, you're loud. I'm getting deaf here. Sorry about that. So yeah.
I can go a bit hotter if you want.
Okay, cool. Do you have the 8 questions? What are the 8 questions? They're very simple, right?
Yeah. So I have I recorded a webinar. I did this back in December, where my coach, every coach has a coach, right? my coach said, you should write people's like LinkedIn profiles for them, like write the about section. And I said, who would ever want a stranger to do that for them? He said, you might be surprised. So I'm part of, Seth Godin's like larger kind of community. I did the alt MBA and stuff last year. And so I just posted up a little thing, and I figured, 3 or 4 people are going to sign up. And, and here's what I said to them. I said, hey, I'm looking for a few people to join a beta group for me. I want to test something out. It's the end of the year. It's not very busy. And so I'm going to have you come in on a Zoom session at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask you 8 questions, and then I'm going to write a brand new about section for you that you can put on your LinkedIn profile. And the whole thing's going to be done within an hour. It doesn't take very long. And then I walked away from my computer, and I don't know if you know what Calendly is, but it's one of those mini websites you can sign up for where people can see your calendar and then book themselves a slot in it. I walked away and had breakfast, and I figured if I'm lucky, I'll get 5 people. And I was so dumb. I did not think to limit the number of appointments. I did not think to put buffers between appointments so that they wouldn't be back to back. I come back an hour later, and this was first thing on Tuesday morning. Every hour between Tuesday morning and supper time on Saturday, every hour was booked. Not even bathroom breaks. I would do 7, 8 of these at a time, back to back to back. That's how popular the topic was. I was very surprised.
Wow.
So here are the 8 questions. There are 3 sort of standard marketing questions that you would have to answer for anyone in marketing that you're trying to talk to. And then 4 questions that I only ever see copywriters use. And then 1 sort of memory question. So the first 3 questions are pretty easy. It's who is your intended reader for this about profile, right? Usually what you mean is it's, someone, who are you trying to talk to? And then what, in their own words, not in your words, in their own words, what problem are they trying to fix by looking for people like you on LinkedIn, right? So they're looking for someone who will manage a team that they have. They're tired of hiring people to hire and manage this team because the team keeps churning those people out and, wearing them, burning them out or something. And then third is, what do you want to say to them? Like, who are you and how do you solve their problem that you just talked about in number 2? And number 2 is by far the most important question, because the problem in their own words, that's the first line. You rewrite it, but that's the first line of your about profile. And the way that I tell people is, and people will say like, the way that my ideal reader would tell their problem in their own words is, and then they just list their own sort of qualifications. They're looking for a manager with 15 years experience who has, has brought products to market and blah. And I said, nobody, when they roll out of bed and they're brushing their teeth, and this is the first problem in their head that they really wish didn't exist anymore, no one talks like that. What they're going to say is, I am really tired of my boss asking me why that team is still not under control and has a manager, and why I have to spend so much time dealing with them. That's the problem in their head, not the sort of faked up corporate type stuff that you put. And if you can get that problem, and in the webinar that I do, the webinar is free, anyone can watch it. Someone asked a great question that I'd never thought to explain is, how do I know what their problem is? Well, you don't know what their problem is. There's 800 million people on LinkedIn. You know the problem that you want to solve, either because you enjoy solving it or, you enjoy making money, one or the other, maybe both if you're lucky. So like, that's the problem you're trying to solve. All you're doing now is getting inside the head of the reader who has the same problem. You can't talk to everybody. So it's, who's your reader? Those first 3 questions. Who's your reader? How do they describe the problem that you want to solve? And what would you want to say to them exactly? And then those are the sort of the standard marketing questions. And then we go into copywriting questions. And most people have never had to think about themselves with these 4 questions, but the questions help a lot. And the questions are pretty, you find them in a lot of copywriting courses and books. But I start off, if I'm the person with the problem looking at different people on LinkedIn, because everyone who's looking on LinkedIn is looking to solve a problem. They want to solve a problem by hiring a company or hiring an employee or finding a vendor or something, right? So I'd say, why are you the safe choice for them? If they're looking at 2 different companies, 2 different people, 2 different individuals, one of them is going to seem like a little bit of a safer choice than the other one. Why are you the safe choice? And most people never think of themselves as why they're the safe choice. But if you have a problem and you're trying to get it solved and you're going to, give up money or time to do it, you want to go with the one that's not least likely to be a waste of your time and money. So why are you the safer choice? And then the next question is, why is it easy to solve this problem if they hire you or if they give you money? Right? Just like straight up, why is it easy? Is it because you take over the whole thing and you do it for them? It's because you've got so many years of experience. You've seen every possible, variation of this problem. Why is it easy to get the problem fixed if they just like basically transfer money to you or hire you or whatever? Then the third one is, what big thing can you deliver for them? And people get confused on big. It's like, no one's looking for the next Steve Jobs. Think of it as throwing a hand grenade in a cupboard and shutting the door, and then the hand grenade blows up inside the cupboard, right? And so nothing else gets damaged, but everything in the cupboard is gone. So that's what they're looking for. They have a little cupboard of a problem. They want you to be a grenade that goes in there and completely wipes out the problem for them, so it's not on their calendar anymore. Their boss is not bugging them about them anymore. And so what big thing in that little space can you do for them? Can you completely wipe out this problem? Can you at least make sure that it never gets any bigger? For some companies, that's enough, right? Can you make sure that you're going to put a system in place, or you have a bunch of ideas so that no one ever has to deal with this problem again? Something like that. Like, how do you wipe this problem out of their existence? And then the last one is, how are you? It's really 3 questions, but it's better to say 8 questions than 10 questions. So the 7th, 8th, and 9th questions really are, tell me how you're new, different, and unique. And those mean very different things. Now, almost nobody can claim to be new, right? Even most companies that I work with, because I write a lot of these profiles for companies, not just for individuals. Most companies are not new. There's no novelty factor about them, right? For every Uber, there's 10,000 companies that say, we're the Uber of laundry delivery, right? We're the Uber of airport shuttles, but there's one Uber, and then there's a lots of other, basically,
Ubers
of that, right? So almost nobody can say that they're new. It's very rare. But unique is actually the easiest one to solve. Unique is, these Lego blocks that kids have. So if you put a bunch of those together in different colors, you've made something that doesn't look like anything else. So unique is just a combination of your experience, where you went to school, what companies you've worked for, the kind of problems that you solve, maybe where you live or what country you're in, because a lot of problems are local, right? They're not looking for a remote employee everywhere in the world. They want someone who lives in this city or this country or whatever. And so unique is pretty easy. It's just stacking the Legos, and the combination of it together means you're different than the other person that they're looking at on LinkedIn. And then the most important one is different. And different is simply this: what's your angle for approaching this problem? Because this actually takes us into the next question, which is, why will they remember you, or how can we make them remember you? So, for instance, you might be a psychiatrist, right, or a mental health counselor or something, and every other mental health counselor makes you drive to their office, and then they talk to you in their office, right? But you don't do that. You meet everyone at a local farm, and you guys get on horses and you talk while you're riding, right? I don't know if that's a better way to do mental health counseling, but it's an angle, right? It's a little different. I don't, if you're talking in your about section, I don't just teach people. I don't teach anybody, by the way, anything about LinkedIn. But I'm saying, if I was you guys, I don't just teach people X. I do it by, this way and this way and this way combination, because it's the best way to make sure that everyone can get to the information and retain it and apply it, for instance, right? So different is your angle, and it's very important. Your angle and whatever you answered for number 2, the customer's problem in their own words, those are probably the 2 most important things. And then the last question that I have people answer is, what do you want them to remember tomorrow? Because they're only going to remember one tiny, tiny little thing about you the next day. And that's not just because of you or LinkedIn. Even any webinar or TV show or story you hear or whatever, you're only going to remember about 10% of it the next day. Just human memory degrades pretty quickly, right? So what sort of visual or emotional or just quirky thing can we have them? It doesn't matter if it's impressive or not. It just needs to be memorable. So oh yeah, I remember the lady who was talking about the horses. Yeah, I remember her, right? That's all you need. You just need to live long enough in their head, about 24 hours, so that you're the person that sort of has the edge when they remember who they want to talk to for someone like that. And those are the 8 questions. If you can answer those questions, and then you can write a new profile, take question number 2 and say, okay, here's the problem. I'm going to rephrase the problem to get inside the conversation that person has with themselves when they're brushing their teeth. and they're going to read that first one and they're going to say, yeah, that's what I need actually. Like they're going to skim it because that's all anyone. Our audiences don't owe us anything, right? And no offense to it, but like when someone sees you for the first time on LinkedIn and your about profile, you're not a person to them. You're just a few bits of information on a web page. You know, they know if they thought about it, yeah, oh, she has like a whole family life. She has like a completely rich life and she commutes to work and, you know, she has all the problems and stuff that everyone else. They don't think about that though. We look at what's there in front of us. We give it a skim. And if nothing sort of resonates with us, we move on to the next person. So that's what you're trying to do with the very first sentence is get inside their head, which is why talking about your vision should probably be the second thing you say and not the first thing.
I think I will move that to my second or third.
There you go.
What should be the first thing he says?
I think what we're going to do is that the first one I'm going to start with either a question, or a problem statement.
Right.
I think that's something that's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go to him.
No, because what I noticed he said is that the focus of my profile is that I talk a lot about me, and I don't focus on the audience.
Right.
Okay. Guys, if you got all the 8 questions or 11 questions, if you know what I mean, could you type it out in the comment section? So whoever who's just joining us, because I just saw the number go up, they can immediately get to see the 8 questions. That's true.
You want me to say them again real quick?
Sorry? Yeah, you can repeat them again as well. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So number 1 is who is your reader? Number 2, in their own words, how would they describe their problem? Number 3, what do you want to say to them about that problem? Number 4, why are you the safe choice to fix that problem? Number 5, why is handing the problem over to you the easy way to get it solved? The next one is what sort of big impact can you have for that one problem if they hire you? Number 8 is how are you new, different, and unique? And those mean the 3 different things, right? The most important for most people being different, which is what's your angle? What's your approach for this problem that makes you different and, you know, can get it fixed where other people might not have got to? And then the last one is what do you want them to remember 24 hours from now?
Okay. So Sam, thank you. I saw some stuff already. 3. Dean, the last one was something that stayed with me. How do we help people to remember us, especially because we only take home 10%, right?
So if you can impart some kind of emotion with your profile, that's amazing. So typically what you try to do is there are only a couple of emotions that are going to be remembered the next day. Most of them you don't want to deal with, right? Sadness usually isn't remembered the next day. Anger is remembered for a really long time, but you would never want to like make someone angry to remember you. That would be crazy.
But some people do it.
Some people do it.
Yeah, and they're quite good at it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like, you know, a certain kind of radio host or like whatever, I mean, sure, go for it. But ideally, the one that you want to convey the most is relief, like pain relief. So,
relief. Oh, yeah.
Think of it this way. If you don't have a headache and then you take headache medicine, there's no effect and you don't even remember, right? But if you have a bad headache and you take headache medicine and, you know, 20 or 30 minutes later, it's like the pain is gone. It's a profound impact. And you remember that. It's like, oh yeah, the next time I have a headache, I definitely need to take this medicine. So their problem is a pain for them. And what you want to convey through a lot of it through subtext is that by the time they identify and recognize themselves in the first question and then get to the end where you tell them what you want them to do, usually email me, call me here, or connect on LinkedIn or something, right? Then it's like they come away and they say, this problem, here it is again. I was just looking at people yesterday to solve this problem. I really wish this problem didn't exist. I hate this problem. And then they remember, oh yeah, I had a sense of relief when I read that one person thing. I'm going to go back and check her out.
Right.
That is so good. Yeah. Okay, awesome. That sounds good. Well, I'm just going to sign up for your session.
I will say one thing though, and I'm going to click on Amin again, okay? You're only going to get about 30 seconds of someone's attention. And so look at it this way. your about section, and people surprise me all the time now that I've written so many of these, especially in the last 2 months. I've done at least another 100 just in the last few months for 100 different companies and individuals. And people surprise me with what they do with it. They take the same thing and they put it on their website as their bio, like what I write for them, or they put it as the summary section at the top of their CV or their resume, right? Or they use it as the blurb for a podcast guest or something. Like, people just take the same text and just use it everywhere because it's just you encapsulated. It's who you serve, how you serve them, and why you're so good at serving them. Basically, that's what your about section is, right? But I will say this, just like your CV's job is to get you an interview and not to get you hired without an interview, the about section on your LinkedIn profile is not about getting you hired. It's about getting your customer to come a tiny bit closer to you and connect with you. That's its only job. So we throw in, LinkedIn gives us, 2,000 characters or maybe more, and people stuff it with all of this stuff. But a lot of people won't even read it if it looks too long. So I tell people either keep it very short, but tell them, like, you come out and literally tell them, connect with me here on LinkedIn, or send an email to this address, or visit my website right here, or here's my phone number, right? Like, you don't leave off with just an impression that they're going to remember the next day. You want to put the step they need to take, a little baby step that they can take to come closer to you. And if you still can't release yourself, or you feel you've got some special insight into the LinkedIn search algorithm, and so you want to stuff a whole bunch of keyword stuff in there, what I tell people is have the carefully constructed, sort of emotional, get inside the customer's head part up top, then like draw a line with dashes or equal signs or something, and then below that, throw in all of your other stuff if you want to. So anyone who glances at it knows immediately, I can skim the top part of this very easily, and I'll go ahead and read that.
Okay, that's
so
amazing.
Either don't make it too long, or visually break it up in a way so that people understand I can really just glance the first part. And if I'm interested in that, I can read the rest, but I'll get everything I need just from looking at the first little bit.
Right, got it. I think that's such a good point because sometimes, especially with 8+3 questions, you tend to write long. I mean, that's my experience. Okay, do you have any questions? Guys, if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section because you guys are very quiet.
They were asking what's number 5, 6, and 7.
I think it's here.
I think it's here. Somewhere here. Seeing will come up with it. 5. Why is it just on the spot?
So don't worry about it because we can always watch this later and kind of
exactly.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. I think most importantly, we want to start doing it. That sort of thing. Do you guys have any questions about each of their respective, different questions? And if you have further questions, let us know in the comment section. But how does this help? Is it like a funnel in itself when we write it in such a way?
No, not exactly, because we've all got multiple channels that we're trying to use for our own personal marketing, whether we're looking for a job or trying to find a customer or something, right? This little blurb right here is simply it's a little tiny bridge, and its only job is to bring the customer or prospect or hiring manager or recruiter
closer to
tiny bit closer to you.
Okay, got it.
By coming closer to you, also sort of locking out any of the other people that they're looking at, because the other people are just throwing fact after fact after fact, and they're expecting the other person who's reading it to come and do half of the work, to pick up what they put down and then to like internalize it and understand it. Whereas you went 90% of the way toward your reader by laying out everything that they needed in a very short way, so that you can actually just like leave them with the impression, okay, if I want pain relief, this is the person I want to deal with.
Okay, got it. Popcorn Bot, if you want to write, if you have any questions about your About Me, if you're about to write your About Me section as a bot, let us know and we'll ask Dean, yeah? Okay, I have another question. Why is it so hard? Is this a real problem that a lot of people don't know how to write their About Me? Why are we so stuck? Why is this the first thing we get stuck?
Well, I can tell you this. Literally, it requires you to do the one thing that's the hardest thing to do in all of humankind.
Which is?
To leave yourself and then look at yourself through someone else's eyes. And it's nearly impossible. Even copywriters aren't good at it. Nobody's good at it. It's not how our brains are made.
Okay.
And so that's why you need questions. Like, and here's my Pat Flynn's awesome. Like Pat Flynn's amazing, right? But I would argue that he's missing the point on one thing, right? If you give people, here's a formula step by step, and just like fill in this section, that you're not outside yourself. You're literally inside yourself, writing stuff out. By asking the questions, it forces you to think of yourself from the other person's point of view. Why does this person think you're a safe choice? Why does this person think that you're different and you come at it from an angle? Why would this person think that you can have a big impact for them? It's not about you saying you can have a big impact. It's like, think about what they want to hear, and then that's what you write, not what you want to write. It's very hard to get outside your own head.
Okay.
Yeah. We have blind spots that people don't see.
Absolutely.
That we don't see. Absolutely, right? So sometimes you just need to have another second opinion on it.
But I also think that there's also, I mean, I don't know about in Western countries, but I think for Asians especially, we also have this belief that there's a right way to do this. I'm doing it wrong. I need to make my marketing copy applicable to everybody. We're targeting everybody, and therefore, and also there's so many awesome people doing this. How will mine stand out? So there's all these things that kind of makes it worse, I guess. What's your advice for that?
Here's what I tell people about, well, everyone knows it's better to have something than nothing. So don't have a blank about section, right, on your LinkedIn page. But I say this, right? Unless you're someone who's going to write what's on their gravestone and then you died, that's the only writing you'll ever do that you can never go back and change. Everything else, including this about section, if you write it and put it up, and then a month later you say, you know what, I would like to change that a bit, go back and change it. It's just some electrons and compute and electricity on a screen. Like it's the most ephemeral thing in the world is text on a computer screen. Go back and rewrite it. Go back and tweak it. It's not a gravestone. You can change it every day of your life if you wanted to, but get something down.
Totally.
I think easier. And you were saying this earlier, right? It's a lot easier. Copywriting is really copy editing. No, copywriters don't get it right the first time. Okay. In my sessions where I let people watch me write their about profile in real time, like we're in a Google document and they can literally watch every word I write. About 30% of it is the writing, and then the rest of it is me going back and say, oh, I don't like that any. I know I only wrote it 1 minute ago, but I already hate it. This needs to be changed to that. And I'm editing and I'm cutting and I'm deleting and I'm adding in or changing words. And then that's basically all they're watching is me editing the whole time. You can edit as much as you want, but get something up there.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's the editing which makes you better and better, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, we've got some questions. CA is asking, can Dave expand on question 7? Tell me how you are unique, how you are different. And question 8, would like more examples to differentiate between the two, the how you're unique and how you're different.
Sure. So unique versus different. Unique is just a bunch of things about you. Like, I'll give you an example. Everyone in the world is unique in lots of different ways, right? But there's nobody in the world who went to the school that I went to in the year that I went there, worked for the exact same companies that I worked for, and lives in my home, except me.
Right.
My wife and kids didn't go to the same school or work for the same companies. My kids have never worked for any companies, really. Right? So that's all it is to be unique. You just need to be able to understand that you've done something, or you've worked somewhere, or you studied something, or you went to a school. It doesn't have to be a school that everyone in the world understands, but if you went to a school that's famous for something, like, if you went and you studied hotel management, or you studied architecture or computer programming, and people who from that world would recognize that school, then go ahead and put in your school. So unique is really easy, and it's really not as important as people think. But different is, I approach it in this way, not the other way. So I'm different from everyone else that you're reading about because I think this part is important, or I do this thing first, or I do the same job as everyone else, but I do it, with this kind of flavor that no one else does. So what are some examples of that? Everyone else in accounting does their continuing education every year, but I make sure that I read every article that's peer reviewed in every journal about reconciling receivables. Like, there's literally no one that you're going to come across that is as interested in reconciling receivables as me. I spend my own time and money even to make sure that I'm up to date on the latest thinking. That's like one example. It's a pretty boring example, but if you are a person who does that, reconciling receivables is probably really interesting to you, right? And so you do something in some way that no one else does. And that's why you're going to stand out. And that's what you're saying. In copywriting terms, we call that your mechanism. So, which is to say, the reason that I'm different and I'm going to be able to provide value for you is because I do this in this way and not the way everyone else does. So saying I'm going to come to work, I'm going to show up every day, I'm going to be on time, and then, and I'm going to do my best. That's not different. That's literally what everyone else is going to say.
Okay, got it. CA has one more question. Can the answer for question 4, why you the safer choice, be the answer for question 8, how you're different?
Wait, I'm sorry. Ask me that again. There was a little bit of
can the answer for question 4, why you are the safest choice, be the same answer for question 8, how you're different?
Question 8 is what they're going to remember the next day.
Oh, okay. The how you are different. Sorry.
Yeah. So any of the previous questions up until, any of the new, easy, or safe questions, or the easy, safe, or big questions, any one of those may end up being your different answer, your answer for different. Yes, that is really smart. Whoever asked that question, that's exactly right. What happens is the closer you get to the end of the questions, the more likely it is that you've already answered it. I find this because I have people answer these questions all the time, right? That they'll actually answer the different question somewhere in like number 4 through 6. And they just don't know it yet.
Right. Okay. So it could be the same.
Build on each other because we start thinking about how we answer, or we answer the wrong question at the wrong time. So we're really answering the different question, but we think we're answering the easy question.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so it's kind of the questions kind of peel off layer by layer and gets deeper so that we understand. I mean, it becomes clearer, right? That seems to be the way. Okay,
by the time you're at number 8, you're like, I'm ready to write this sucker. I know what I want to say.
Okay, awesome. Okay, now Afzan has a question for the sucker number 8, question number 8. She's asking, we write about what we think makes us unique and different, but after a few posts on LinkedIn, the feedback is that it is something else that makes us unique. How do we identify our uniqueness before other people do? Is it a race?
Don't worry about it. There is no way to absolutely determine whether you're doing it with the text or the subtext. There's no way to absolutely determine what a conclusion someone's going to come to in their head when they read it. Don't worry about it. What you do is make sure that you are as different from as an isolated from everyone else that they're reading, because you're not the only profile they're looking at while they try to fix this problem, right? They're looking at you and 4 other people. And all you need to do is make sure that you stand out from the other 4. It's like that old joke, right? Where 2 guys are in the woods and they come across like a bear, and the bear notices them, and the first guy starts running away, and the second guy stops and makes sure that his shoelaces are tight, and the first guy yells back and he says, like, why? What are you doing? We got to run. You can't outrun a bear. He's going to try to hide from the bear. He says, I don't have to outrun the bear. I only have to outrun you.
That is horrible. Yeah, that is true.
I know it's terrible, but again, he's literally right. The bear's not going to the bear's not going to leave the meal of the first guy to go get the second meal. He's going to be okay with the first meal that he gets.
Exactly, so, and he'll be full.
You don't have to stand out from the world. You just have to stand out from the other 4 people they're looking at today.
Somebody just said our LinkedIn competitors profile today to me, so I just have to stand out from him. No, just kidding. Anyway, triggered. But anyway, no, because he keeps adding our students and asking them to come to his class, so that's why. Sure. So we're like, huh? Okay. Anyway, I suppose he stands out in that sense. But anyway, I'm going to go back to like kind of basic. Dean, writing somebody else's profile is not what you do. You do other things as well, right?
It's more than that, I think.
Yeah, it's so much more. So we're going to...
right?
Yeah.
We're going to switch gears now. So Dean, first things first, how did you get started doing what you do now? Because do people actually go in, I'm going to be a copywriter, to school? How did you start, and what is it that you offer your clients now? So versus how do you work with them?
Yeah, I mean, I get your point. It's like if you go to a schoolyard where kids are playing, there's not one of them, if you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, not one of them says, oh, I'm going to be in insurance.
Right.
Or, I'm going to be in, hotel food logistics. Like, that's not what a 5-year-old would say, But yeah, I don't know how I ended up in copywriting. I think I started when I was 14. It just seemed like a sensible thing to do. My parents owned a business. They owned like a little grocery store and gas station. And so I started by writing the signs and the product descriptions that would encourage people to buy a certain thing versus another thing in our little store.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah. In a little town of 800 people.
Wow. Where is this?
Where is this?
It's in Newfoundland, Canada, which is where I'm originally from. I live in America.
Wow. Okay.
Really remote kind of, small place.
Okay, cool. It must have been nice growing up in a small town.
Yes. Well, it's like a lot of things. It's like there are some big famous companies and that they have a really rough culture and the employees are not happy there. Well, those kind of companies, it's like it's a good place to be from, but not a good place to be.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah, I did my tour at XY company, and that's why I'm so good at cold calling. I don't want to work there anymore, but it was great education while I was there. So yeah, I mean, growing up in a town of 800 people out of the very outer edge of North America, where you're closer to England than you are to California, I don't know. But I mean, it was a nice place to grow up. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It had terrible weather, but other than that, it was nice.
Must have been pretty cold.
Right? And it rained every second day of my life. And no one owns an umbrella because it's so windy. It's like a little island out in the North Atlantic. No one owns an umbrella, even though it rains all the time, because the umbrellas just blow out every time you try to use them.
Okay, that sounds like me in England. I don't bother wearing, bringing an umbrella because I don't see the point. But anyway, right. So now what do you do? Because apart from, helping people with their About Me section, writing their personal write-up, you also do webinars. Could you tell us more about that?
Right. So
you save webinars. That's what you do.
Yeah. I work in sort of if you're going to put people in a department in a company, I work in a relatively new kind of field that's only been around about 15 years called sales enablement. And in sales enablement, your job is to take what a company or a marketing department wants to say generally to the whole market, and you transform it for some particular audience, either someone in a conference room, because either you're making presentations for salespeople or you're making webinars that are going out to people interested in a particular topic, not necessarily the company as a whole. So most of the time, I'm a webinar ghostwriter. I mainly do B2C. I don't do a lot of B2C webinars. I do B2B webinars. So I do mostly B2B webinars. So I write and construct webinars for companies who want to get the people in the audience to perform a call to action at the end of the webinar. Sign up for the newsletter, book a 30-minute discovery call with our sales team, get on our mailing list, sign up for a webinar series we're going to do, come to our booth at a conference, something like that.
Okay. Is this pretty new for people? A lot of people don't understand it, or how does it work?
Ghostwriting webinars? So I mean, a ghostwriter is just someone who doesn't put their name on something, but they write it, right? Every book by a politician or a celebrity. I don't think Beyonce writes her own book, right?
No, definitely not.
It's her ideas, and she meets with that person, but there's someone whose job it is to take all of that jumble of stuff and turn it into something that's really fascinating to read and structured and achieves what she wants to achieve. So ghostwriters have been around for a long time. Webinar ghostwriters, not so much. In fact, I was talking earlier on the LinkedIn profile about new and how rare it is. I didn't even, everyone is stuck in their own head, including copywriters. We have trouble seeing ourselves just like everyone else does, right? I did not realize that webinar ghostwriter, which to me is something that I know people. There aren't a lot of people. I don't know anyone who does B2B exclusively like I do. There are a lot of people who do that, but I didn't realize it. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna register webinarghostwriter.com. And I'm going to start putting all my material and stuff onto a website. And in a week, I Googled myself just before I started, basically not my name, but I Googled webinar ghostwriter.
Webinar ghostwriter. Uh-huh.
And so, and I could, the only thing there was webinars that you could sign up for teaching you how to be a ghostwriter for some politician or Beyonce. And then within a week, because it's such like a new and unique thing, that now if you go there and you Google webinar ghostwriter, I'm like 4 or 5 of the first 10 results.
Wow.
Wow.
So all this came up in a span of like how long?
Oh, I've been writing on the side. I would have like a corporate job. And I would write for a VP of something or an entrepreneur who's going to be, giving a webinar or like a talk at a conference where they could really, the company could break through if they did a fantastic job at that presentation or webinar. And so I've been writing for those folks for years and years and years. And before that, I used to write webinars and sort of the big keynote speeches for professional speakers around the US and Canada. I had a whole business where I just did marketing and writing for professional speakers, so like what they would say on stage or what they would say in a webinar. And then from that, I started picking up clients, just 1 or 2 at a time. And then when I finished up at the end of last year, I said, you know what? I do this all the time. I love it. It's the world's least interesting topic, but I think it's fascinating. And so I'm into it.
And people actually do really get a lot of sales from it, right? I mean, we believe in it because we think it's the new form of marketing.
Right. So webinars have been around forever. On the one hand, they've never really improved much in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the webinars you see today are really not any more interesting than the ones 20 years ago. The technology hasn't changed much. There's been a couple of Band-Aid things like pop-up surveys and stuff, which I do not use or recommend for people most of the time. I don't think it's a good idea to interrupt an audience, but it makes sense if you're kind of boring. It makes sense to throw something up on screen. But the reason that they didn't need to improve, this is really interesting about webinars and a lot of stuff, especially. So let's go back to the core reason for having a webinar, right? Which is kind of similar to the LinkedIn About section, which is that at the end of it, if it does nothing else except make people feel like it's safe to move closer to you as a consumer or as a business, or let your business come closer to their employer and their boss won't say, why are you talking to me about this company? Like, these guys are idiots, right? If you can convey that, we've done all this thinking, we've got interesting stuff, we solve these problems, it makes sense for us to get closer to your company, then that's the minimum thing they need to achieve. And most webinars do manage to achieve that. They don't achieve anything else, but they manage to achieve that. And so they got good enough at the main thing right from the start. And from there, they never really improved. But you can do so much more if you know what to do.
So what are the main challenges that people face?
Well,
what is it that they're doing wrong?
The challenge is it is extraordinarily hard to keep, and maybe even impossible, to keep a webinar audience's attention on the screen for the 45 minutes that you're giving your talk. Mostly because we're not putting enough stuff on screen to keep people's attention. And it's a tremendous amount of work to make a webinar, even a bad one. And it's a tremendous amount of extra work if you're going to try to keep people on screen all the time. Because, people expect to, people can read about 200 to 300 words a minute in English. So like putting a bunch of stuff on, even if you put everything you're going to say on screen, people are going to read it silently faster than you can say it. And then they're just waiting and waiting. And there's nothing to watch.
So it's kind of like that.
Blah, blah, blah. So the main thing I have to sort of break webinar folks, especially CMOs and VPs of marketing, I have to break them from the idea that a webinar is a visual experience. It's not. Most people are going to spend most of their time, and everyone who's listening to me has done this before, right? They play the webinar as radio in the background while they're checking their mail or checking Facebook. They're on LinkedIn. They're not looking at the screen most of the time because there isn't anything on screen that's interesting most of the time. The same slide might stay up for 10 minutes, right? So you're not in the TV business. You're in the radio business. And if you can make that switch and understand that you're in the audio business, and so what is being said and how it's said is more important than what you show on the screen, that's a game changer for almost every company. Once they figure out, I just need to script out everything that we're going to say, word for word, and work on that to make sure that my points are getting across, and we're using powerful language, and we're guiding people from the top of the webinar right down to our call to action, subtly, without being, like being too overt about it, then that's it. A webinar is a radio experience with a little bit of visual put in. And once they figure that out, or once I can convince them of it, like the whole world opens up for them.
Wow, that's like so powerful, because it did not occur to me that a webinar was a radio until you mentioned it. Then you're right, it is a radio experience, isn't it? So if I can accept that a webinar is a radio experience, what then opens up for me? How should it be run? How do you see it run?
So there are, and I don't try to pretend there's only 8. There are 10 questions that you walk
Okay.
through. I do not remember them all. I bet I could, but I'd end up halting and having to have long periods of silence where I try to recall what they are. Actually, you know what? I bet you I could.
I think you could, right?
You watch. I have it as a shortcut where I type a few things. Okay, so here are the questions. And what happens is, in B2C, the order of the questions is a little different than in B2B. But in B2B, the questions you're going to answer, you have to write a script. But you're writing a script not to say what you want to say. You want to write a script to your audience, answering questions in order. Just like just talk to the audience by answering these questions. Don't put the questions up on screen anywhere in your webinar, right? We inform with the text, we persuade with the subtext. So you answer the questions without showing them what the question is. And the very first question is, why is this different? This is the audience thinking to themselves. Why is this different? Why is this novel? Why is this worth paying attention to? And you need to hit that right at the top. Most people start with, hi, my name is so-and-so. Here's a slide with my picture on it. Here's my, here's the agenda. Here's some housekeeping items, as if no one on the webinar has ever been on a webinar before and doesn't know how a webinar works. Right? There's no one left in the world who doesn't know how an online meeting works. So you start off by just right from the top. Why is this different? So you answer for the audience. Here's why this is different. Here's something cool. Here's something interesting or new. Here's a point of view here's an assumption here's something you believe, and I'm going to show you why you're wrong, and I'm going to show you what the new truth is. Something, but you got to grab attention right from the very top. And then, how do I know I can trust you? And like, not you as a company, but you individually. That's your people slide, right? So you do need a slide like you've always had, with your picture on it and your title and any awards you had or whatever, right? But how do I know I can trust you? You need that slide and spend at least a moment or two. I should say that I advise the CMOs and VPs of marketing around the world, you don't give each question an equal amount of time. Some of these questions are you have quite a lot to put in for them. Some of them you want to get rid of as quickly as possible. Why is this different? Get rid of that very quickly. How do I know I can trust you? Get rid of that very quickly, right? Just like deal with it and move on. Don't spend a lot of time talking about yourself. It's not like 5 minutes about you. The next one is, how do I know this is real, right? Because a lot of stuff that we see is really just in someone's imagination, or what we used to call slideware or vaporware, right? It's not a real thing yet. And so you have to show that it's real, because remember, the underlying message we're always trying to do with every webinar is, it's safe for me to come closer to you, or my company to come closer to your company. So yeah, this is where you talk about this is basically, this is social proof, like the whole Cialdini thing, right? These are other companies have already bought this, or we were featured in this, magazine or news site or whatever, right? We were on CNN and whatever. It's like validation that it actually exists in the world. I'm not trying to like sell you something, and then you're going to be the first person to ever buy it, and I'm still working out the bugs and all that stuff. And then the next one is, what's in it for us? And that's kind of goes back to the Pat Flynn thing of talking about the benefits. So you talk about the benefits first. We don't get the features until way down in the list, number 8, I think. Number 8. So what's in it for us? And that's basically the features. And then this is where a copywriter comes at something that most salespeople would not think of. The next question is, what's kept us, or as a company, from getting what we want? So we want more customers. What's kept us from getting that? We want higher margin or better ARPU on every customer. What's kept us from getting that, right? And then that's the question you're answering for them. You should have an answer for that, because you're selling something that solves their problem. You should know why they haven't solved the problem already. And then the next one is, how will what you sell, or how will this help us get what we want? So you're setting up why they've been blocked from doing something, and then you're the solution to help them get to that. That's the next question. And then the toughest question in all of B2B, which the B2C people do not really have nearly as much of a trouble with this as B2B does. Why now? Because there's almost nothing that you're going to sell in a B2B environment that the customer couldn't get for the same price or cheaper if they wait a month or a year or a quarter or whatever. So why now is a tough, there is no concept of scarcity in B2B. In B2C, it's like, I'm only offering it at this price until midnight.
Yeah.
It's only available. We only have 7 slots. And once they're sold, they're done, right? There's no such thing like that in B2B. If you call your, the company that supplies your restaurant with food and you say, hey, that deal that you told me about like 3 months ago, where I can get peaches for 10% off, I want to buy the peaches now, and I want the 10% off. And you're going to sell it to them if you can, because otherwise your competitor is going to do it. So why now is really tough to answer. I earn almost all of my money writing for script for B2B webinars on figuring out how to answer why now. It's very tough. Most people can't do it.
Wow. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
But I mean, I should say, I just said most people can't do it. Literally everybody can do it, but you do have to invest time in figuring it out, and you have to know the answer. Right? And then the last 2 questions or 3 questions are, how does it work? And that's where you get to geek out on all your features. And and here's how you'd sign up for it. And we're going to be using Google Docs. And we're going to get your private Facebook group. But here's like all the mechanics and logistics of how does it work. And then then what's the risk of doing nothing? Because you don't want to leave them with the idea that they've got forever.
Yeah.
It usually means every day you don't do this, you're losing money because my solution makes it cheaper for you to do something. Or oftentimes the flip side is every day that you don't do this, your competitors are doing better than you are. It's really the only options you often get in B2B. And then the very last one, which should be what everyone does, just like the LinkedIn About profile, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? Okay. Is it going to be an in-depth technical meeting? Do I have to, put down a deposit? How do I get in the queue so I'm not, still waiting for this a year from now? So those are the 10 questions.
I'm listening to this and I feel that this can also work for live webinars too, right? So if you're doing that consistent,
I use this for all live webinars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is like a sales funnel in a way, because you're kind of, how it's structured is you're kind of getting rid of the mindset or the blocks right at the start, right? And you're you're leading them somewhere, definitely, right?
Yeah. And there's no lingering doubt. Like when they finish at the end of the webinar, there's no like, I'm still not sure. They don't even know why they're not sure that they should sign up or talk to your sales team or whatever. They just know something's missing. Something wasn't covered. There's something I don't know. And one thing we always say in copywriting, the confused mind does nothing. If a buyer is confused about something, they're not going to take the next step, no matter how small the next step is.
Right.
You're right.
So the 10 questions knock out all of the major emotional and intellectual areas, so that by the time you get to the end, they're like, well, yeah, that totally makes sense. I feel like I understand this. Let's get going.
I love the way the seeds being planted from the start. It's just like small seeds here. Yeah. Because what I noticed in some of the webinars is that they dump all the sales technique at the end. Yeah. Then by that time, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I just want to get away.
Wait,
everyone drops off. It's like, they're not talking about me anymore. They're talking about themselves. I'm done here. Goodbye.
Yeah, you're right. Because this usually happens in all webinar, and it's like what you said earlier, right? Before we started live, everybody comes in and then they wait for that part. And as soon as you start the sale, it goes down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to start the sale almost in the first sentence, very carefully, without being salesy about it. So that
how do you do that? What's an example of selling without being spammy and salesy or sneaky?
So this is a copywriting concept, and I'm going to see if I can explain it. It's the only thing I ever have trouble explaining. So just bear with me for a second.
Okay, got it.
All right, let me talk. If you were driving in a car and I was in the passenger seat, and then another car sort of hit us, right? And we didn't die or anything, but another car kind of hit us. Then for the rest of our lives, if you and I are together and we happen to be talking about something like that, I would never call it. I would say, yeah, just like this feels like the time when we were in the accident. I would not say this feels like the time you and I were both in the car on March 8th, 2020, and that red car came in from I would not say all that stuff. you and I would have a shorthand reference because we experienced something together. And we would just say the car accident or the accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. The way that you set up the audience so that by the time they get to the end of your webinar, they're ready and willing to perform your call to action is you pretend that they've already seen the call to action, even though they haven't, and that they liked it. Then you go back to your script and you start adding in little like references to it, very general ones that assume that the audience has already seen the call to action with you and liked it. So if the call to action is sign up for our newsletter, right? Then right in the very beginning, you would lay in references about people who, would have been better off if they had known something ahead of time, which is reason you sign up for a newsletter, so that you can see stuff, read stuff, and it doesn't surprise you when it happens to you in real life. This business problem, Kubernetes doesn't work, on this form of Linux, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so you start referencing to it like the accident, but you don't actually like call it out. And so by the time they get to your pitch about you should sign up for our newsletter, you've already made references to it by saying things like, it's so helpful when you can get information ahead of time and know what problems are on the horizon. Or it's so helpful when you've had a chance to read what other people have done before you experience it yourself. Or I remember the one time, it was so weird. I was reading a newsletter I get in my email every week about such and such. And then that happened to me the next day. And I already knew what to do because I'd read it. You just lay in these references. You've never talked about a newsletter that you're giving out. Then by the time they get to it, they've been primed for it. It's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You get it ahead of time. You know about it. There was that one story where like they read it and then the next day they experienced it. And so then they sign up for it. Does it make sense? You've laid it in, but you've never referred to it. You just pretended they already knew the value of the newsletter.
Okay, I think I know how to explain it simply.
Good. Tell me.
You basically did an inception on them.
I see that too.
Planted the seed, right? That's the easy way to explain it. So you're planting the seeds.
Exactly.
You're planting the seeds right from the start, here and there, so that by the time you reveal sign up for the newsletter, they're like, oh my God, my world will end if I don't sign up for this newsletter. I will die. I will be a Nokia. You know what I mean?
You did something like this, by the way, at the top.
Really? What did I do?
Sort of. We call those things assumptive asides. It's an aside because it's just like a throwaway comment. You don't spend a lot of time focusing on, and it's assumptive in that you're making the assumption the audience already knows what you're talking about. So when you talked about the TikTok lady,
yes,
you and talked about how I'm sure she doesn't like it if I call her the TikTok lady. I apologize in advance.
Don't worry. She's also a WeChat lady, so she's a TikTok and WeChat lady. Okay.
There you go.
F45 lady. Okay.
By saying ahead of time, basically you're incepting for her next week. But you're saying, even if you said what you said was, even if you don't know what it is, you're going to want to know, right? That's not quite assumptive. It's a little bit salesy because, obviously it's a promo for her. So of course you're promoting, but it's sort of the same thing. It's like, you don't even know the value you're going to get, but there's going to be value there when we get there. Pretty similar to that, except you want to like take out anything that sounds at all promo or salesy and just make an offhanded comment and then move on. Don't dwell on it. Don't spend any time explaining it. Make the comment throughout the webinar in your script, and just then instantly forget that you said it and move on. And by the time you get to the end, they've been primed or incepted a bunch of times.
Okay, so if we were to get this strategy like correct, it's kind of like inception, added with a lace of, how do you say prasan in English? I mean, conceitedness.
That's what it is.
Right? Because we teach our students to be conceited. Because, as Asians, we don't talk big about ourselves. It's about other people talking about how awesome we are. If we're awesome, we don't talk about ourselves. So it's about doing inception and being a bit conceited at the same time.
That's
that
funny.
like right?
I have to do the same thing when I write the LinkedIn profiles for people. I have them read it, and I have them read it out loud to me. And then I say, okay, I don't write stuff that isn't true. Is everything that I've written for you true? And they say, yeah, it's all true. And I said, well, if it's true, stand on it. Live out loud a little bit. Brag about yourself a little bit. Because it's all true. Why would you not be proud of it? Take it
Yeah.
and use it on your LinkedIn page.
Love it. Thank you. You just reaffirmed one of our commandments, which is it pays to press on, which means it pays to be conceited. Because everybody was doing it on LinkedIn. We know they suck. I mean, the ones who we knew they suck. Sorry.
If it's true, own it.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Even Dean is saying, own it. Okay. Good job. I love Inception. But I didn't get the movie. It was too much Inception on so many levels, but I kind of got it in that sense. Yeah, so they're all talking. They need to be conceited now. Okay, cool. I do have one question, and it is from Astrid. Astrid, I hope you're still there. She's going back to the About Me section kind of thing, and she's like, would adding a small humor into your profile write-up be a good idea, especially when you're in, let's say, involved in pharma or medical industry? Because it does create like emotion, and that's what we want to do, right? But how do we tread it? Because you can easily do it the wrong way. Yeah.
Such a good question. So the webinar that I gave, and like I said, it's free and it's automated. Anyone can watch it anytime, right? One of the things I talk about right up at the very beginning of the webinar is that LinkedIn, of all of the social media platforms, from Twitter to Facebook to TikTok to WeChat, like of all of them, LinkedIn is the coldest one. It's the most like standoffish one, right?
Yes, we call it constipated.
Yeah. So you have to, in all B2B, but especially on LinkedIn, you have to be very careful about using humor, because it's very easy to go wrong with it. And so I also, by the way, I tell people, don't project weakness on LinkedIn. You don't have to like pretend that you're invincible, but and is it okay if I pick on Amy again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
It starts off by saying,
I'm you know what? I'm the most easiest
you
to do. Just
your vision. I think your says your vision, which is fine. Vision is right on the edge, right? I wouldn't abuse that word, but it's right on the edge. But people say like my passion is, or my superpower is. Like, we don't use any of those words. I said we can convey that meaning without actually saying the words, because the words are going to turn people off. In LinkedIn, being such a cold, constipated kind of place, you do not want to project weakness, talk too much about emotions, or for most times try to do humor, unless you really, really feel that you've got that joke nailed down and that it's going to resonate with the audience. For the most part, I do not. I focus on relief, like the reader feeling a sense of relief. Oh, thank God, I finally found the person who's going to solve my problem. Or at least intrigue. I do not try to go for humor.
Right. Okay. So the safe route is for relief. Yeah.
Relief is the safe. You can convey relief. You've done 99% of the work for your About profile.
Yep. I think this is a very good point to make, because at the end of the day, we're on LinkedIn, it is about business and professional. And if you're building your authority, if you want to sell something, then it's definitely about what relief can you give that person, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a comedian, then it's definitely comedy.
Yeah, and I'm not a comedian. I'm really not. But I tell people, companies go to LinkedIn to shout about themselves. Individuals go to LinkedIn to solve a problem of some kind.
Okay. Got it. Okay, Amin, do you have anything to add? I'm still a funny person, so I'm going to keep being me.
I'm gonna come from this angle. This is my personal point of view on this. At the end of the day, who's your client avatar? Yes. So if your client avatar is those group of people that will be comfortable with it, I'm okay with it.
Right.
That's how I see it. Yeah. So I look back to that.
Yep.
Once in a while,
you will speak to your own audience. That's how I see it.
Exactly. If you know your audience, you know what to say.
Yeah. Because our audience is you guys, and you guys don't behave, so we don't behave. That's all I can say. But having said that,
I've seen some influencers who use humor, and there are people who respond to that. And you know what? Who's your target market? Who's your target audience? At the end of the day, it goes back to that.
But for me, even if I am a humorous person and stuff like that, the About Me doesn't. I mean, it's a pain relief that I'm solving at the end of the day. So I'm conscious about that. Yeah. Because that supersedes the humor part. So in my posts, I put the funny stuff, but in the About Me, it's the pain relief. Okay.
And even then, it's mostly third-party funny stuff, right? Like, look at this funny meme, look at this funny cartoon or picture. It's right. Or look at this comment someone made about someone. That's like what we put on LinkedIn for funny. We don't normally try to come up with original jokes for LinkedIn. I mean, honestly,
Right,
if
yeah.
you're coming up with original jokes, go to Twitter. That's the audience. They love that.
True. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Amin, any questions?
I'm okay for now. Looks
You're
good.
okay for now. Okay,
All right.
so we've done Astrid's question. I think looking at time, we've got like very little time left. So I do have a couple of questions, rapid fire round for Dean. So Dean, looking at how the world is moving and changing, what are your top tips for business owners, startups, sales professionals when it comes to webinar or copywriting, or about me, from your point of view?
I would go ahead and spend a little time making one webinar that you could record and then have it run automatically. And the goal of that webinar is to make sure that a lot of people, you're going to try to send as many people as you can to that webinar, right? Through, you're going to keep posting about it every so often. You might pay for Facebook advertising or whatever, right? You're trying to send an audience, but there's a place for them to go. And that webinar has two jobs. To all the people that are never going to buy from you, but might waste your time by wanting to talk to you and have a free consultation, you want to treat them with respect so that they leave thinking, all right, I like that. Interesting person, not for me. And then they don't try to chew up your actual valuable time in like a free consultation or something. And then for everyone else, which is a much smaller group that you've sent there, they look through it and they say, you know what, if this webinar and the quality of this and the messaging that I'm getting is going to be the kind of quality I'm going to get if I work with this person, then I want to work with this person. I'm going to move closer to them. And then at the end of the webinar, usually there's something like, click here to book a time, or click here to send me an email, blah, blah, blah. And then just let that run 24 hours a day for as long as you can let it run where it still works.
Okay, so take my money. Yeah. This is my ang pao money from Chinese New Year. I'm saying.
You don't stop running it because you're tired of it. You stop running it when the customers are tired of it. And until they're tired of it, you should still love it. And just let it run forever. It's a one-time investment of time and then and a little money every month. And then that's it. It just runs forever.
Love it.
People will stay with you for 45 minutes. Or an hour. What other marketing venue do we have where people will stick around that long?
Okay. And what's the worst thing they can do? I think I know, but you tell me.
Not doing it. They can do for creating their funnel?
No, what's the worst thing they can do as a business with the way the world is moving right now?
Oh, I see. So
not doing a webinar.
Here's the lesson I take away from that, right? You need a good sales organization if your marketing sucks. You need good marketing if your sales sucks. Decide which one you're going to let suck and focus everything on the other one.
Okay, got it. That's a good one.
That's a good one. On the sales
side,
that. You're good at talking about yourself. Pick one and do it.
Okay, got it. That's a good one. Okay, one last question. What was your most difficult assignment?
I had a client once that I was creating a webinar for where they didn't want to have a point of view or a voice. They didn't want the company to stand out. They wanted it so that if you took out the logos on the screen and the name of the company, you couldn't tell if it came from them or the big competitor that was 100 times their size.
Right.
And I said, wow. if the only difference is the logo on the screen, then why are you doing this? Like, you can't compete with a company's marketing budget that's 100 times bigger than you. Your only choice is to be different and stand out. And he said, no, this is the way to do it. Basically, I think he wanted to get a job at the company that was 100 times bigger. So he wanted to show them that he could do their kind of work, when really he should have been focusing on like how to get into that prospect's head with his company and move them along. But sometimes, people have an idea. No, it has to be done this way. This is the way we've always done it. We don't want to stand out. We don't want to carve out a little position for ourselves. We don't want to be remembered the next day. They never tell you that, right? But that's
so. Did it tank?
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Terrible. Oh,
I mean, it was a great quality webinar. I should have just gone to the bigger company and said, "I just made a great webinar for you guys. Here it is."
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, now I know what to do. Not that I'm going anywhere. I mean, I'm here just saying. That was funny.
The smaller you are
Okay.
compared to your competitor, the more you need to carve out your own unique position and own it.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more. Okay, with that, we're coming to the end. We've got one last question for you, Dean. Moving forward, what are your plans? What's next for you?
I will start. I am starting. We used to run these sprints. I think you mentioned at the top of
Yes.
we run we're switching to a membership model because we want it to make it as easy for everyone, small, tiny businesses, to do what we recommend, which is to make one great webinar and let it run forever, automated. And so the next thing for us is to set up the membership program so that small businesses can pay like just a little amount every month, have us help them create their webinar and like deliver it for them and write their registration page and all that stuff. And then they never need to think about it again because we'll put it onto our automated platform and just let it run for them forever.
Wow. Okay, that sounds fantastic. We are definitely going to be in touch. Also, Dean, you shared with me some links, POPCON chatbot. POPCON AI, could you share the links that Dean shared with us so that if you want to watch the free videos that Dean has, we've got the links for you. And also, if you want to do that session with Dean, to come up with your profile, because I totally want to do it, the links are going to be there for you. POPCON chatbot, are you there? Can you help? I think POPCON chatbot is tired. It's behaving quite well because normally we got a cheap chatbot from China, so it usually has an attitude problem, but she's quite nice today.
Huh.
It's quite nice. Yeah. Okay. So connect with Dean on LinkedIn and the webinarghostwriter.com. What is that? So that people know.
That's where I post all of my blog articles and explain how and I let people get in touch with me if they want just a little bit of help on a webinar they've already got, or on the other side, if they've got a really super important one and they want help like constructing and writing the whole thing.
Right. Okay. Got it. And then the CMO webinars is where all your videos are, right?
Yeah, they asked me to create a series for CMOs and VPs of marketing about webinars. And I said, I have an opportunity to talk to that audience. That audience needs to hear what they're doing wrong and step by step how to make their stuff amazing. And that's what I'm making for those guys.
Awesome. And the last one is the on your LinkedIn profile writing multi. That's the one I want to get on to get you the 8 questions and how by the end of that webinar, that session on Zoom, that 1 hour, you're going to get your profile up and running. Okay. Yep. Sounds good. So go for that one. The link is here in Facebook and in, I think, what's that thing? LinkedIn as well. Yeah. Okay. So Idris is saying, hey, Dean, just sent you a connection request on LinkedIn. Thanks for your time. And thank you so much, Dean. I think we learned so much. Guys, what did you guys learn today? Let us know if there's one thing that you got from today's session. What is it? Let us know in the comment section. We want to hear from you. I mean, what's your biggest learning?
I'm rearranging my profile immediately after the show.
Okay, got it. I love it. I think, wow, I learned so much. That
the best thing to do is take action immediately after you learn something. That's always
you're
something.
You're kind of big flapping me because I still haven't done anything, right?
Yes, Nina, do your profile.
Well, I want to work with Dean. I'm a brat. I'm one of those people who wants to be when we're doing stuff. Okay, but anyway, so still Chinese New Year.
Okay.
Firecrackers still, but anyway, yes. Thank you so much.
All right.
Do your homework. Brag. Okay, somebody's saying bragging is a no-no. Is not a no-no. Bragging is good.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying thank you for sharing, and Samantha is saying that you're #1 on ghostwriting or something when she Googled.
Ooh, I made it to #1. Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. Wait, let me see what she says.
Wow. In 10 days. That's amazing.
In 10 days, is it? Yeah. Okay, hang on. I can't remember where she said it, but yeah.
It's somewhere up there. I saw it.
Yeah. She said #1, right? She Googled you and she saw you.
That's what she said. I Googled webinar ghostwriter and saw you.
I'm going to get a t-shirt that says I'm #1 on Google from now on.
Yeah, you should do that.
There you go. Webinar ghostwriter. Dean, thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Dean.
Yeah,
was
I'm gonna be in
wonderful
touch
talking
because I want to do my thingy, my about me. And thank you so much for sharing generously. Yeah.
Exactly.
night.
Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
See
Yep.
ya.
Thanks. Bye. If you guys are still tuning in, hang on because we're gonna share with you some stuff. What's happening next week? I'm in.
Okay, so let's do a recap. You want to talk about the Facebook group first?
Yes. Okay. I forgot about that. Okay. So if you guys want to learn how to position yourself as an influencer, this is for business leaders and sales professionals. You want to learn how to build a profitable business on LinkedIn, then you want to go over to our Facebook group. Can we have the link to the Facebook group so that you guys can sign up? Make sure you answer the question because Popcorn Chatbot is quite evil. It will not approve if you don't finish answering all the questions, kind of thing. Okay.
Exactly.
We've already got some videos in there. We shared the one of our students shared about how she closed sales, international sales, just being with us for like 10 weeks, I think, something like that. And we also shared the 9 pillars of how you can position yourself as a business influencer. Now, this is the formula that we use for all our students. It is the only one, so we don't hold anything back. That is the pillar. So if you want to see it, check it out there. Next week, we're going to be talking about TikTok and why you need to be on TikTok, even if it's not for you. And TikTok is huge. I love it. It's organic. We need to get somebody on Clubhouse soon. Yeah, I mean, and how to work it.
We should. Soon.
Yeah,
we'll find
soon.
one.
So we'll let you know when that comes up. In the meantime, if you want to learn something, if you want us to interview someone, let us know in the comment section. The Geeta episode did very well on IP. We're going to get her in to talk about social media, intellectual property, and the what happens if you start using stuff from the internet without whether it's free, whether it's not free, and if you get into trouble with it. All right, so that's going to happen in April, kind of thing. And I got a lady who didn't want a friend with you on LinkedIn. I mean, that should be good. Okay, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next week. Let us know in the comment section if you want to, or PM us if you have people that or certain topics that you want us to cover. Okay, thank you so much. Good night, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye.